So WrestleMania ticket sales. This had also been noted by the Wrestling Observer. That sounds like a lot of this card is very much up in the air. There's a potential for changes. Of course, the only thing announced thus far is CM Punk and Roman Reigns. And so I looked in today to like a lot of the different metrics that we do have available for us for WrestleMania. So at this point, between both nights, they have 73,701 tickets distributed. These are stats from WrestleTix. Compared to last year, this same week last year, they had nearly 89,000 tickets distributed. So that's a difference of 17% that they are behind from last year's figure. On the secondary market, like it's pretty much like $238 is the get-in price, and certainly goes much higher than that. But I also found this report that the Las Vegas Convention Visitors Authority put out just 2 weeks ago, and tourism in Las Vegas was down 7.5% in 2025. And one of the big reasons for that decline is from Canadians that are not traveling to Las Vegas, because Canadian tourism to Las Vegas is down 24% in 2025. And this is a big deal because last year when we got the breakdown of the tickets that were out for both nights of WrestleMania, 81% of the attendees in night one were from out of town, 84% on night two. And obviously, like, Nevada saw this as a big boon to their tourism, their lagging tourism, because they got WWE to break a deal with New Orleans to bring the show back. And I would imagine that they incentivized the hell out of WWE to come back for this. So all that is to say is that these are all areas that WWE is going to be hyper focused on. We don't know, like, yes, they're down 17% when it comes to tickets that are distributed. We don't know exactly what breakdown of that. Like, we don't know what the gate figures are, by the way, either. There are higher ticket prices this year than last. But, and then also this note that Fightful had is that distributors around or like bars and restaurants and different places are not going to be able to broadcast WrestleMania if they're within a 50-mile radius of WrestleMania. And I would take that as a direct reaction of, like, they want these people to buy tickets to go to WrestleMania. Like, this is like they did this for WrestleMania 3, where there was a local blackout because they wanted everybody to buy tickets and go to the show. So all that said, Way, is that if you could put your self in the mind of the traveling wrestling fan, like, what would be the decision factors that you would be going in, especially if you went to WrestleMania last year in the same market? Like, what would be holding you back this year from going again if you're somebody that generally does go to WrestleMania each year, for instance?
For me, I think first and foremost would be the fact that it's a repeat destination. And, you know, I know Vegas for a lot of people is just like, it might even be an annual trip, you know, like it's the type of place that you could visit multiple times and probably have equal, like, it's like a theme park for adults. So
but it's also an expensive trip too.
It's becoming more and more expensive. Okay. Being Canadian, that certainly would, you know, affect my decision this year. You know,
people don't think, like, this is not just a pocket in, like, Las Vegas either. Like, that is a huge sentiment here in Canada of people that, not to say they're refusing to go to the US, but if they can avoid it, they will. And that is, you know, that has been something over the last year that, like, you just hear all the time about people that are not as willing to be traveling to the US right now.
I also think perhaps my disappointment in the main event of last year might figure into it as well. You know, again, it's not to say this year would be similar, but if I left that show feeling like I was let down by that final match, I think it would sour my experience enough to at least not want to overcome the several hurdles that we already just outlined. So there are a lot of factors, I think, working against them.
Yeah, and I don't know how high you prioritize, like, the lineup itself. Like, last year, you had the idea, like, it is going to be John Cena's last WrestleMania. You had, you know, at least the thought that perhaps The Rock would be involved, because I guess up until that first Raw on Netflix, like, Cody and Rock was sort of something that had been teased over the past year. This year, you don't have John Cena. It's a repeat destination. And the card itself, like, if they are going to be making all these changes and such, like, now is the time people are typically going to be making those kinds of decisions. And these last numbers from WrestleTix were, at least the second night was over the past week. So if there was some big bump after Punk and Reigns, it probably would have been reflected there. But outside of like a big name from the past, I don't know among the current roster. Like you can mix and match different pairings and programs. Like I don't know if that's going to generally lead to something that you're going to see this big.
Are you sure, John? Are you sure Ari isn't going to give a certain board member a call? Hey, ticket sales are a bit soft for the stadium show. Could you give us a little boost?
Well, that's a name from the past. I would say I wouldn't qualify that as like a roster member for instance, like of the roster you have. And let me say this: like WrestleMania is not going to be a failure. It's not going to be a disaster. But everything is about growth year over year. And they're probably, like last year, they got a $5 million site fee, another $4.2 million in tax credits. I would think to have canceled in New Orleans to come here, like they had the leverage, and I'm sure they're getting equal, if not significantly more than they did last year to incentivize them to like break a contract and come back to Vegas, who were like begging for them to do this a second year in a row, even though we had a host city announced publicly. So all of those things.
I think perception matters a whole lot, especially when you're talking about a publicly traded company that demands, continued growth no matter what, right? And not being able to brag about at least similar attendance to a previous year, much less like a figure that's not growing from the previous year, could do some damage. Could.
Yeah. And this is one where, yes, perception is always something significant to them, but it's also like internally. Like if this is not a WrestleMania that brings in as much revenue at the end of the day than last year's, like they will know that. And that is not what they are wanting here. And we're comparing numbers to where they were this time last year. They've got 10 weeks here to push this. But I think like tourism, like all those factors, and this is the last domestic Mania for at least 2 years. But I'm curious how, like, if the repeat location, if that affects people, or if just, ticket prices are high, or whatever your different factors. It's not going to be one specific reason.
I think there is growing sentiment from the audience. I mean, there's been for a whole year of like high ticket prices being a big talking point. Is this a breaking point? And will this be like a publicly recognized period where you can definitively say the peak is over, the boom is over, and therefore they can't charge as much as they want anymore? Is this the audience responding?
If you go on Ticketmaster, and granted, this is not what the average fan is even going to be looking at, but it goes as like you can sit like right there on the floor, $16,000 for a ticket. That's Ticketmaster. That's not even the secondary market. But anyway, that is what you are looking at. So, I mean, this is going to be, interesting to see as well. And if there are any like major directional changes, because we've at least seen hints of programs toward WrestleMania starting over the last like week or so. And we will see if they follow that, or if like we will know if there's like a major pivot somewhere. Well,
what is there to pivot from? Because we don't even have an indication of like what's currently available is being rejected, right? If, like what would they pivot to?
Like
right?
One would be like, you're not looking at your mid card. You're looking at your big matches. And I would say like Drew and Cody, for instance, like I think that's a pretty clear direction. If they made like a sharp turn and, switch the belt or did something out of there, like sure, you could add Jacob Fatu. I don't think that's making a difference to that match, but like that's one where you could say that they could look at, hey, we've done Drew and Cody and this isn't going to have the juice for 2 more months. Or they could just stick to that.
Yeah, this might be getting to like more fantasy booking territory, but like, would you consider Brock Lesnar? Like, is he a difference maker to throw in that mix? Like, who are the names that are the difference makers that you think would?
I think you've listed them. Like outside, you're not having a big outside attraction like a Rock. You don't have a Cena, so I would say like your core players are Reigns, Punk, Cody, Brock. I think
Reigns and Punk are spoken for. So
yes, they're spoken for. I think people are looking for like who are the big money matches, and Brock is one of those. Whoever he ends up with as well. February on the Post Wrestling Cafe, we continue our review of Season 2 of WWE Unreal, including a big look at Seth Rollins' fake injury, which culminated in his appearance at SummerSlam. We're going to be looking back at Shinya Hashimoto with a special career retrospective on Rewind Away, plus a review of Extreme Rules 2011 as John Cena announces to the WWE audience that Osama bin Laden has been compromised to a permanent end. We'll also take a look at New Beginning in Osaka, TNA No Surrender, and new members can take advantage of a 7-day free trial. Go to postwrestlingcafe.com and jump on board in February.